Hello again. So here we are in Berlin. We didn't necessarily anticipate that sometimes over the course of the tournament that Stuart and I would be sitting here in the sunshine and looking ahead to England in a final, but that is how it's transpired. Congratulations to all concerned. Just one more game to win. And this is our tactical preview, looking ahead to how things might pan out, the team that we think that Gareth will pick and the team that we think he should pick, and how the game might develop. Stuart, it's been some ride so far, and albeit that it's been baby steps at times, by and large, England have been getting better with every 90 minutes they've played.
Yeah, that would be fair to say. I think that 45 minutes against the Dutch was probably our best of the tournament, no doubt about that. And the script just seems to be falling into place nicely. It's made us sweat on occasion, Jim. You know, we've wondered, we've scratched our heads on occasion how they've got over the line in certain games, but they have. They've found a way, and that togetherness of the group has been massive for all concerned.
Okay, so the key now is to be able to replicate that first 45 minutes that we saw in Dortmund against the Netherlands. How do England go about that when you've had a performance that has been very much in two halves, where one has been excellent, or the majority of the first half was excellent. Certainly once England had conceded, they were really good. The second half, they started slowly and got slower and fell off the boil until Ollie's late goal. So when you've had a performance like that has been so completely different within the same game, how do you go about making sure that you're replicating one and not the other?
Well, I think what they'll do is have a look at the analysis of both halves and say what went on, what could we have done better at half-time as a coaching staff, if we're talking about this game in isolation. Why was there a drop-off in the first half, and what were we doing slightly differently wrong in the second half compared to the first? From my point of view, the follow-up question from you is, well, what was that then? So I'm going to say the build-up from the back was much slower in the second half. It was as though we come out and our work was done in the first half. The build-up was slower. We didn't commit any midfield players, I don't think, in the build-up, to have a chain of events that got the likes of Foden and Mainu on the ball that was so good in the first half, and Saka. I think they were starved of possession a little bit, and we could have done that a lot better. And I think that would have got us in the same vein as we finished the first half.
So can you see those same shortcomings developing against Spain as well?
It's a difficult one, Spain, because we're taking the best team in the tournament on. So there'll be half the mentality of Gareth and his staff will be, how do we stop the Spanish? And the other half will be, once we've stopped them, or prior to stopping them, how are we going to impose ourselves, our ability on them and our tactical approach to the game? Now, there's certain talk in quarters, Jim, that we'll start with a similar formation and a similar lineup. That would mean three at the back. I think the build on three at the back, as I've said to you before, is probably better in regard to getting us playing. I think for a game like this, with two wide players in sparkling form for the Spanish, playing a four would be better defensively.
Okay, so why? From a tactical point of view, when you've got to deal with Lamine Yamal on one side and you've got Nico Williams on the other,
Yep.
Morata in the middle, so three forwards, and they got Dani Olmo coming forward as well. And they played almost 4-4-2 in their semi-final. Almost. Olmo was just playing on the shoulder of Morata.
Yep.
So you feel it would be better, rather than having a 5 against those 4, you'd rather match them up, go 4 against 4?
Not so much 4 against 4. I see it 4 against 3. So I'm talking the two wide players and Morata. There's their 3. I'm going with the 4 against them. Olmo is probably Declan Rice's responsibility, or a deep line midfielder, Mainu maybe, wherever he strays into whatever area. That's their responsibility out of possession. It's not one of the back 4s. I just feel as though, give me clarity as a fullback what I've got to do. The alternative to that being a 4 and having, there's my player, I've got to stop the ball going to him to start with. And if he does receive the ball, I've got to be touch tight as soon as it gets to him. The alternative to that is I play a little bit either more advanced as a wing back, and chances are they will break and he'll be the other side of me. Now, whose responsibility is he there? Is it mine to get back and get goal side quickly enough? Or am I in slot already? Is it the centre halves coming out and dealing with the wide players? That is a question mark. Or alternatively, if we're back in post, I'm going to be facing a wide player and a fullback coming forward, a 2-on-1 overload. And that's the problems you face if you play with a 3 or a 5, whichever way you hash it up. They get the opportunity to 2-on-1 you earlier up the pitch and then turn you round and face you up. I like, as a fullback, to make sure that my wide player doesn't get turned in the first place.
The decision that he's got, the principal decision that he's got in terms of personnel, you would imagine is either Luke Shaw or Kieran Trippier. Yep. The rest of the team pretty much picks itself. So is that decision in personnel governed by which formation he wants to play? Is it going to be, I want to play a 4, therefore it's Shaw, I want to play a 3, therefore it's Trippier? Or is there are nuances?
Some nuances. I think throw into the equation, does he want to put Foden and Bellingham in those inside number 10 positions? If he does, then he's going to have to run with a 3. If he doesn't, then he can afford to have probably Foden a little bit more left-sided, has to deal with the right back out of possession. So I think part of him, and a more aggressive manner of doing it, would probably be to play with 3 at the back, and that enables Foden, who was, I thought, outstanding, certainly for 45 minutes in that first game. Do we want to pull him away from a position where he was outstanding to put him back on the left side of midfield to do a defensive job against them, or do we say, come inside and let them worry about you?
Another point that you mentioned when we were talking with Adrian at a show earlier this afternoon was Declan Rice's defensive responsibility and where he would play in relation to Kobbie Mainoo, depending on the 2 Spanish wingers. Now, I think most people think that Yamal is the stronger of the 2. Certainly his success at dribbling over the course of the tournament has been much higher. He's had success, I think, 61% of his dribbles as opposed to low 40s for Williams, which is still very creditable. So do you put Rice over on that side so you have Mainoo to his right so that Rice can come across and he can be an extra body when Yamal is flying forward?
Well, probably one of the reasons why I suggested that was the fact that that's how we used to employ Declan at West Ham on occasion. Say if they had let's say the lineup that we think they're going to enforce. So if Williams is once on the left-hand side and Yamal is on the right-hand side, and we're suggesting Yamal is the slightly better of the 2 players, then Declan plays on that left-hand side. That might also be influenced by Olmo. If we think he's the more advanced of the midfield players, and he plays on the right-hand side, that puts him in line with Declan, that's utopia for us. Because Declan's closer to Yamal, so he can get across and deal with him. Or alternatively, he's in the same line as Olmo. If, let's say, for instance, the game pans out and Williams is having a halcyon time on that side of the pitch, I don't think it would be outlandish to swap Dec over with, Mainoo. Mm-hmm. I take it will be. And free Mainoo up to go and play and whatever. And Declan's got, yes, that's his responsibility in the middle of the pitch, but if it breaks down at any time, he's got the legs, he's got the energy, and he's got the nous and the IQ just to slide across an extra that little bit extra protection.
One of the keys to Spanish success over the last year or so, they're unbeaten in 14, is Rodri. And trotted out the statistic, he's lost only 1 of his last 80 games for club and country, which is an extraordinary record and you would imagine pretty much unparalleled in recent football history. If Rodri's as good as that, how do England build their attacks to give him the least opportunity to be able to influence the game defensively for Spain?
I think probably out of possession, if we got 2 number 10s in Bellingham and Foden, attach one of them to him or get round him, stop him being the conduit that makes them build, because he's very good at that, as you alluded to. Stop him getting turns, stop him playing forward passes, out of possession. In possession, can we play either side of him? So, let him work from side to side potentially to try and deal with us in that area, because he is by far their best player, most effective midfield player. So can we nullify him when we've got the ball?
And is that a job that Harry Kane could also do? Coming back, or is that going to draw him too deep? Or is Rodri going to just play a little bit further forward if he finds that Kane's on him, to draw Kane further and further away from the attacking line?
I think it's an option, but the trouble you got with that, and on paper it's brilliant, if you get a situation, two central defenders on the ball, playing the ball to each other, Harry Kane drops back and he gets in and around Rodri. Rodri's cute. He's not going to say, well, I'm going to stand next to you all day, Harry. He's going to take Harry Kane in areas of the pitch he doesn't really want to be, and they'll build up elsewhere. So I'm not sure that's Harry Kane's responsibility, and you're going to take too much out of his legs. We want him fresh going forward. So I would leave him with the centre halves and let the midfield deal with that.
Are we talking about Kane starting as a given? It is a given, isn't it?
I think so. I think there's been a loyalty from the manager over time. Let's not lose track. Harry Kane's the leading scorer for England. He's been absolutely magnificent for England. He's a fantastic captain and got the respect of the squad. To leave him out at this stage, why would you? The other side of that is early substitutions. There's been a clamour for it. We talked about it months ago, not just at this tournament, where it's become topical, but months ago we talked about the importance of the substitutes bench, especially at tournaments when you've got 26 players at your disposal. And the managers and the coaches that employ it the quickest and the best are probably the ones that are going to come top of the tree.
What's your biggest reservation ahead of the game? What is the single aspect of England's performance that might keep you awake tonight? What will be on Gareth's mind? What's he most worried about?
I'm not necessarily saying, if you ask me one thing that would really frustrate me a little bit as a manager, would be, and it has done over this tournament as a coach watching the games, the build-up from the back can be so slow at times that it's too slow. We knock nobody over doing it. We don't get the ball into advanced areas to our better players to get turn and go and affect the game. That will be my biggest concern. When England are not playing well, they look as though they're devoid of ideas and tempo of playing from the back through the thirds. And that would be, you know what, I would almost, Jim, I've got to say, I would almost as a manager go to bed tonight and say, you know what, I'll take whatever results come my way, but let's have a go at high tempo and high revs. Let's have a go at them and let the result take care of itself. And at the end of the game, you can walk away and say, you know what, okay, we got beat by a better side. But to come away from this game and say, you know what, we didn't play to the level we know we can, would be the one thing that would hurt me the most. And a lot of people would say, just give me the trophy, I don't care.
Do you think that when they look back at the final from 2021, bearing in mind that 6 of the starting 11, whether it's Shaw or Trippier, 6 of the starting 11 for this final will have played in that one, do you think that they look back on that one with regret? Do you think that they died wondering that night?
I don't think so. I think they might say, might have been a slightly missed opportunity, but it was virgin territory for them. It was a major final. They'd never been there before. They've been there before now. These players, and those players will be schoolmasters to the other players that are going to take the field with them and that are in the squad that will need to have impact in the game. So they've had that experience. I didn't look at the Italian game. I thought that was an even-Steven game. I really did. I didn't think it was as clear-cut as people after the event are turning around and saying, well, England threw it away. They didn't this, they didn't do that. Everyone can do that after the event. At the time, I think that the Italians just edged it on the day with a little bit more know-how.
But there's no overstating the importance of that game in 2021 and what it could bring to the players for this one.
Experience is everything. If you've walked the walk, and when we talk about that experience from that game, let's throw in the mix as well. Some of our players at younger age groups have beaten Spanish players that are going to line up against them. That is massive as well. The fact that you're in the tunnel and you look at the fella in the Spanish shirt and you think, you know what, 2, 3, 4 years ago, I played against you in the under-20s or the under-17s and we beat you. You know what I mean? So there's no reason. I'm better now. There's no reason why I individually can't get on top of you and be a better player than you. And the implications of that will be my team will win.
Well, Spain will certainly be starting the game as favourites, but if you look at the likely England side, if it is an unchanged team, 7 of them played in that final in 2021. The other 4, 2 have won a European Championship, a World Cup even, at age group level, and in the other 2, one's just won a Champions League final and one scored the winner in an FA Cup final. So there's plenty of big game experience and big game joy within that England team. Let's hope that they all write themselves into English footballing history on Sunday night. Now, the game kicks off at 8 o'clock. I know you're aware of that. The build-up in the stadium with Adrian Durham, Stuart and myself from 8 through to its conclusion. And then here on talkSPORT's YouTube channel, of course, the debrief, the final debrief, looking back at the final and England's role throughout the tournament. That's all to come tomorrow. Sleep well. Don't be late. Could be a big day tomorrow.
Was ist das? talkSPORT?